Everything you learned in history class was a lie. Well, maybe not everything, but they skipped the best parts. Introducing Stupiracy, where stupidity meets conspiracy. Ever heard of the Olympic marathon that nearly killed its runners? Or the time a pope put another pope's corpse on trial? Join me, Scott Rizzuto, and Tim McKernan as we uncover the most outrageous historical moments and mind-blowing conspiracies you won't believe actually happened. Tune into Stupiracy for your weekly dose of historical absurdity. Available wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, history is dumb, but laughing at it is smart.
And now, live from the TCL broadcast studios, it's Patrick Reusse with Sports Talk.
Well, I hope the boys had a good time out of my old stomping grounds there on Prior Lake.
Like they did.
My best pal, Gary Clerkin, lived right down the street from that place. He had the ski boat and the whole deal, so we hung out there a little bit. Once in a while, if you had the right bartender at the Green Heights, you might be able to get a beer.
Oh, nice.
That's good. I think it's Green Heights. It looks like it. I mean, the address is Green Heights Road, so it must be the same place.
Sound like
They've
they had a good
probably
time out
redone
there.
it. Yeah, it's right. The water's like right here.
Yeah, I can see from
Right
some
here.
of the pictures that they posted that it's right there on
Yes,
the water.
And this is a great time of year to be on PL because the water's nice and blue and fresh, and they're probably still not 100% out. Probably that's a big long lake. You know, it's not that wide across, but it's a long lake. And when I was a kid out there, a high school guy, it had to be 60% cabins. Now there's about 3 left, I think. My Aunt Marie had a cabin on the lake that had outdoor toilet.
Oh,
Not far from
boy.
Green Heights.
Okay.
That was a cabin, man. You
that's
stayed
old
there.
school.
And in fact, when we moved there, my sister, my dad, and my brother was in the military. My sister and after my mom died, we moved there, and my dad and I lived in that cabin while they were building the house in beautiful downtown Prior Lake. And my sister stayed with some relatives because she was younger and didn't want to freeze to death. And it was getting a little chilly there in October in the cabin with the outdoor. That you know what? You go down there for your morning constitutional to the outdoor plumbing in October 20th or so. That gets you ready for school, man. You're ready. You're awake when you get.
You're already
awake
ready to
when
go.
you get to school in the morning, man. You can't wait. So anyway, yes. But this is Friday, the Friday pre-Fun Fest, Sports
right.
Talk. The boys, we got the short staff here today. So what's on Manny's mind? That's the question.
Well, what's on my mind is, Patrick, my Toronto Raptors. Man.
Woo!
I mean, I kind of figured when they blew game 1,
Yes.
they had that big lead in
They
game
were in
1,
trouble.
and then they turned around and lost the game. I kind of figured, okay, they're going to be in trouble because LeBron always wins at least one road game in every series. He's going to find a way to win one road game.
Yes.
Unless he's playing the Warriors in the finals. But when they blew that first game, I immediately thought they're in trouble. And then last night
they made
just
LeBron and his teammates very confident by
and Kevin
kicking
Love
that one
looked
away.
Kevin Love looked like Minnesota Kevin
And they
Love
made him
last
play
night.
center, right? They
Yeah.
made him start at center.
Yeah, he's been starting at center whenever he's played.
I was reading something where he and Lou had a battle. He didn't want to play center, and Lou basically begged him to, and then he goes and gets 31 last night. But LeBron is I think this is the best he's played in a couple of years, 2-3 years. This whole season he's been good.
I think since his second MVP season with Miami in 2013, where he statistically had his best season that year.
Now,
this year he's been incredible.
Shooting jump shots better than ever, or does it better than he has in years, or does it just seem that way to me when I watch?
I think it seems that way, but when you consider how much basketball he's played, and he's in his 15th season now, he's 33 years old. When you factor in
and it's
all
about
of that,
his 19th season compared to everybody
when you
else.
figure in all the playoff games
and everything, and the fact that he started when he was 18 instead of 20.
There's a lot of miles on that vehicle. And when you take all of that into account, I think this is the best he's ever played.
Yeah.
He's just been. I mean,
now the one thing about it
he was taking last night were ridiculous.
The one thing about this team is, and he does, they kind of know when to pack it in. When they're like that Game 6 against Indiana, they said, "Okay, this ain't going to work out. We might as well get beat
early on. They could tell.
We might as well get beat by 25 and get them back at our place."
Yeah. He's they when you consider and I thought, remember when they made those two big trades when they got Rodney Hood and George Hill and all those guys, and they got Isaiah out of town and got Derrick Rose out of town. I thought, okay, and they played those first couple games and they looked terrific.
They're young,
up
and down the court.
They're going to steamroll through everybody, and then they just started playing like crap. It was the same old crap again. Bad
defensively, they're worse than our boys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're statistically terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But, that's I feel sorry. You know who I don't like that well? Kyle Lowry.
Yeah?
Not at this time of year. I don't know. I mean, DeRozan gets some heat, but I love DeRozan. But Kyle, I'm not that. He's he plays.
He's had his playoff struggles.
He plays point guard like Eric Bledsoe. It's okay. I'm keeping the ball. The hell with you guys.
Yeah, it's
Teague
weird.
Dribbles a lot, but it's not because he's looking for shots. He's looking to penetrate and then he'll get rid of the ball. But those guys, I don't know. Lowry is, but they're good. Sweep City now, don't you think?
Oh gosh, they
poor Dwayne Casey after having a fantastic year.
It's really too bad, Pat, because they've had a really good team the last 3-4 years, and every year they just run into LeBron, and it's just the same old. They can change the offense because that was the big thing going into this year was, Dwayne Casey's changed the offense. They're shooting more threes and all of that, and the numbers showed that. Like their offense was a lot better and a lot more efficient, but it doesn't matter when you're running to the best player on the planet and the best player in the league for the last decade.
And who was it? I think Coward. Maybe that's the reason he's quitting. He guaranteed he gave before this series started. He gave Toronto as his lock of the year to win the series.
Really?
Or something, yeah.
Well, I had them in the finals to start the playoffs.
I was hoping so. I like to see. I mean, those Toronto fans have been pretty dang loyal here the last several years, and it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those deals where you're going to pay the price for this one. They're going to. I mean, It's kind of like the Wild. They finally are paying the price for bowing out in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, this year there's going to be a little softness in season tickets. They're gonna suffer for this last one, and Toronto's going to suffer for this one.
And they're in a very similar situation with that the Wild were in. I mean, they're probably a better team relative to their competition than the Wild are, but they got you got Kyle Lowry locked into a long contract. I think it's like 3 years. I think he's got like 2 years left. DeRozan's in a long-term contract. They gave Serge Ibaka a 4-year contract this past offseason. So they got money locked in. They got some young guys, but there's not a whole lot of there's not very many more adjustments that they can make.
I heard Phil and Myron talking today, but I got in on the tail end of it. I didn't know that about possibly trading Wiggins. You haven't seen any rumors like they're shopping?
I haven't seen any
rumors.
No,
I did. They were making it sound like it's something that's being actively, and maybe there's a report out there. I haven't been able to find it. So, but
I don't know.
That's just
the market for him is so low right now, though. They're not going to. They can try and trade him, but I just don't think they're going to get much for him at this point.
My trade won't work, huh? Georgie, Wiggins, I get Steven Adams, and I take Carmelo off your hands. And Paul George is leaving.
I don't know if Oklahoma City will do that.
I've decided I want the brute in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm decided.
You want the big physical guy.
I want the big guy that so Towns can go run around and make jump shots and go inside when he gets when they go to their second strength center, then you can put him back in and let him eat him up and do all those things.
One guy that is making a lot of money for them that you could probably move and get maybe something for is Teague. But if you move him, you don't have a point guard.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the problem. So,
unless the guy we saw in the playoffs is going to be running the show next year.
Stop it. Oh, God.
All right, we'll be back. Has anybody seen the traffic guy? Is he here?
I did see him walk by.
He is here.
He is
okay.
Here.
This is the Sports Talk edition with Manny, Kenny, and Reusse. Kenny, yesterday I am going
Where is everybody, by the way?
They were at Green Heights, or Charlie's out on Prior Lake. It looked gorgeous, by the way. They couldn't have done it without Reavers, though. They needed his input. So,
of course they did.
To be out there.
Right.
So, Kenny, yesterday, I meant to say this to you, but I forgot. I'm coming out of the tunnel, right?
Yeah. Eastbound or westbound?
Westbound. Eastbound.
All right.
I'm coming out of the tunnel, and I'm in the left lane when I come out of the tunnel, right?
Inside lane, hugging
I'm on the inside lane.
Hugging the wall.
And who thought it was a good idea to make that little transition from 94 to 35 at that point?
I know.
A guy, 3 lanes, last moment.
Yeah.
How many do we kill a year when people make that move?
Oh, my gosh.
That's a good question. A lot of people rolled it over with that move.
And this guy was right on the edge of when you hit the deal.
That stretch there usually collects anywhere from 1 to 5 wrecks a day.
Is that right?
Because it's so insane, because you come out of the tunnel and then you have the on-ramp from Hennepin Lindale right there, and everybody's jockeying for position. And what you said, the fastest lane there is the inside lane, so people hold that lane until the last second, and then they rocket across 4 lanes of traffic and hit that ramp.
People over on the right who are trying to, oh God, there's the turn off to the U. I got to get there.
Right.
My morning job is down in Burnsville, so I go through the Lowry Tunnel, and I have to get on 35 from 94 right there. So my challenge is I'm trying to ease over into that far right lane to get onto 35 while and what's happening is on that entry ramp, people are creating lanes.
Yes.
There's the lane on the far right that wants to stay there and go on 35, and then in that same lane there's another little pocket lane where people are trying to merge onto 94. It's a mess.
The CD lane, collector distributor lane. Yeah, and people use that as an extra lane. And the problem is, if you go through the tunnel in the right lane, because you're going to take southbound 35W, you end up going 2 miles per hour, while 2 lanes over on the inside lane, people are rocketing by at 50, 60. And it's absolutely
but it is
insane.
so many,
it's terrifying.
It is amazing how many people you can hear them say in the car, oh bleep.
Right.
And then they just go left. They just go left. And now, the best part is, on yesterday's commute, that wasn't the best move I saw. Damn near, guy coming over 3 lanes, damn near killing everybody. 280.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right. A left exit from eastbound 94.
Exit, 280.
Yeah.
Some gal blows the 280 exit, and there's that little,
so she wants to stay on 94,
there's that little,
but
there's the little shoulder. She wants to go on to 280.
Okay.
Right.
But she
missed it.
She missed it.
Oh.
And there's a shoulder, the big wide shoulder there.
Yeah.
She stops.
Put her in
She's going
reverse.
to back her up. She's waiting for that moment when she can back up. Honey, you'll be here till 12:30 a.m.
My God. People are so damn.
I've seen that move, too.
See, what I was getting at was, you're going eastbound on 94, and it tells you 2 miles back.
Yeah, left exit.
280, left exit only.
Yes.
Like, this is not...
and then they boom.
You stay here and you go on 280.
Yeah.
But you get people that wait till the last second, and then they slow down, and then they're trying to stay, because they want to stay on 94 and keep going eastbound. But they slow down and they sit there right when that split happens, and they sit there. It's terrible.
That whole somebody was telling me that was, I don't know, a traffic reporter or something, not like you, but a guy that.
A real one?
Some of those, like a newspaper guy was telling me that they've had, like, the experts who come in nationally and look at them and say, who in the hell designed this whole mess here?
Right. Were you smoking meth, or what was it? When you brought up the tunnel, though, I thought for sure you were going to mention westbound 94, because the complaint I hear all the time is the exit from westbound 94 to westbound 394.
Oh, yeah.
Where people always in the tunnel, the ones that do it every day, a couple times a day, they stay in the far left lane of westbound 94 through the tunnel, and as soon as they get out of the tunnel, they rock it over.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's 2 lanes you can make there.
Yes.
But but if you end up in the second one instead of the first, I always feel more comfortable in the right lane.
Yeah.
Because if you're in the next one, you always get the guy that said, I don't want to be in this lane.
Right. Right. If you're in the center lane, you have the option to either go westbound 394 or continue on westbound 94.
But that's
the crash lane.
But the 394 turn is also it's like taking a corner at the Indy 500.
It's the funnest corner in the history of corners if you're on a sport bike and if it's 3 a.m.
Yes,
right. If you're all alone on that corner, my goodness, is that a fun corner. But the rest of the day, it's a nightmare. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's really difficult. My big complaint, my beef, Patrick, is this summer of construction we're going to have here.
Yeah.
And
there's going to be people inventing places to drive. Go ahead.
And it's been a topic in all the newspapers, and I see this discussed all the time, how people are changing their habits and they're looking for different routes, and there are going to be more buses and more carpool parking and all this. I almost swore, all this BS. And nobody brings up the real answer, the super easy answer. Drag your fat ass out of bed 2 hours earlier.
Yeah.
Get on the freeway by 6 a.m.
Get your work done and leave early.
You will roll into downtown free and easy on any route you want, and you won't be upset. You won't sit in traffic. All you have to do is figure out what to do with yourself between 6 a.m. and say your work starts at 8 a.m. Be it a coffee shop, sleep in your car, sit in your car and cry, go up to your office and take a nap or surf
the
porn,
other thing is
anything.
take the bus. And then the next graph is now the buses are going to be delayed too because of this traffic.
Right. Yeah.
So the first time somebody's on the bus for an hour and a half, they're never taking the bus again, right? They're gonna try their own devices.
And I'm so sick of these people shoving the bus and shoving the train down our throat like we're begging for it. Nobody wants to sit on the bleeping bus.
If you could get on if you could get to the train would be fine. But how do you get to the train?
Yeah, that's another thing. There's going to be a lot of overfull parking in South Minneapolis, and there aren't any parking lots for the train in South Minneapolis. People just park in the streets, so that's going to screw that up.
And by the way, I still say the greatest thing we've ever done is we had 35W and we had the nightmare of trying to get across the river.
Yes.
So let's build a train that doesn't get across the river.
Right. You can tunnel
either
under.
That is, let's spend the other $200 million and go across the river.
Yeah, and they build this big elaborate tunnel system under the airport and all of that nonsense, and it goes to the mall, but you don't go over the river. You're literally right next to the bleeping river. Go across the river.
Right.
My goodness.
That's what I said.
That's the Met Council for you.
Okay. All righty. Well, we shall return. We got to see what's going on with Brucey Boy.
That's right. Sports Talk will be back in just a moment, but now it's time to head out east and get the Your Money Now report. It comes to us courtesy of Federated Insurance, where it is their business to protect yours. Here is Mr. Bruce Vail. I don't imagine you have to deal with bad traffic out east, do you, Bruce?
We have plenty of bad traffic here. Fortunately, the time of day I work, I get to miss it coming and going. But it's pretty bad in some spots. Manny, stocks were higher to end the week, buoyed by a rally in the tech sector. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 332 points. That's the biggest gain in about 3 weeks. The Dow closed at 24,262. The NASDAQ Composite gained 121 points. The S&P 500 rose 33, but the market still was mixed for the full week. The U.S.-China trade spat is cutting into the flow of soybeans, pork, and other commodities from U.S. farms to one of the world's biggest markets. Since early April, when China announced tariffs on some U.S. agricultural goods and threatened to target others, Chinese importers have canceled purchases of corn and cut orders for pork, soybeans, and sorghum. The Wall Street Journal says the chill in agricultural trade is sending jitters through the Farm Belt, which for years has sent farmers on trade missions to cultivate the Chinese market. Amazon is now in the dog food business. WAG, a line of kibble available exclusively for Prime members, launched this week. The line will begin with dry food and then add more products later. It adds to Amazon's rapidly expanding private label line of products. I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now on 1500 ESPN.
Okay, thank you very much, Bruce. Have a nice weekend. We'll speak again on Monday. We'll check traffic here. This one's sponsored by KFC, and watch out for a crash inbound 394 at Louis. All lanes are open, but it did block everything for quite a while, so you'll see a backup kicking in around General Mills. This summer, get a crispy chicken tenders $20 fill-up. The meal includes 12 extra crispy chicken tenders, plus all the fixins for it. It's all right, let me do a little bit of traffic here before we get back into the program, Patrick. It's the typical Friday melee. We do have crashes all over. I mentioned the inbound 394 wreck at Louis. The guy blew a tire on his truck. He was pulling a trailer, so he spun that around and blocked for a while, thankfully, on the shoulder there. Somebody lost at eastbound 94 prior to 101 in Rogers. They're way down in the weeds. We also have a wreck eastbound 94 between 55 and 394, and huge levels everywhere, like westbound 694, 35W over to 100, already almost a 20-minute drive. And the outbound crowd on westbound 94, 494 up to 101 in Rogers, seeing 15 minutes. And we spoke about 94 before the break. Actually, 94 will be closed this weekend between 394 and 35W. That's a big one. 10 p.m. today through 5 a.m. on Monday. And part of that closure also includes shutting down Hennepin-Lyndale between Dunwoody and Oak Grove. And unfortunately, this is the first of 3 weekend closures for 94. And then in South Minneapolis, oh, you're going to love this. They've been restriping Portland and Park to make an extra bus lane.
So basically, you're going to have one car lane because you got the bike lane. Now we're going to have a bus lane.
Yep.
You know, when I was at the Star Trombone in the mid-'60s, I took Portland out and Park back.
Yeah, and it was awesome.
And it was great.
Yeah,
they had 4 lanes, you go 80.
Yes, it was the best thing ever.
Nobody cared. Now we got a lane and a half.
Yeah, and it's dragging, and the bicycle riders love it, and everybody else hates it. But anyway, Portland closing this weekend between 15th and 31st. That's 7 p.m. today through 7 p.m. on Sunday.
I'm sorry. I'm still not seeing a lot of bike riders using these bike lanes. And maybe it's just the time of day that I'm driving.
You know what I saw the other day, though? Saw somebody riding a bike on Portland. Well, I came in the morning on Portland, and I saw some gal riding a bike.
It's all about you, baby.
First time. First time. Yeah. You know how much we've spent for you to ride that bike, honey?
Hope you're happy.
All right. I was thinking, we got the Loons playing here, right? We got them on the station. This is their second year. And I was thinking the other day when I said to Andy Greeter, I said, now, Christian Ramirez, he's the guy who plays for Costa Rica, right? He said, no, it's Francisco Calvo that plays for Puerto Rico.
How could you get that wrong?
Costa Rica. But I'm thinking, who are these guys? We knew who the Kicks were, right? Even I was covering the Twins. Willie, and well, for one thing, they only had about 14 guys. And they didn't have transfer periods, and they didn't change the roster. And the same guys played every game.
Yeah.
And we knew them all. We knew Ace and Willie and Merrick and Ron Fucher and all the guys. You knew them all. So I thought I'd do a piece on that today. So I called Willie and Merrick the last couple of days. They're both still in town. These Englishman who came over here.
Really?
Alan Willie, who was their greatest player ever, probably the best soccer player that's ever been in Minnesota professionally. He's just working for some company in Bloomington, non-sports company for about 20 years, yeah.
Huh.
And Merrick's kind of been in soccer, but now he's got some other business going. And Jeff Barnett was here for years. I think he owned the bar up on Gull Lake there for a number of years. And then Tino, of course, is here. But the best thing about talking to these old guys is you get the Freddie Goodwin stories. Because Freddie was the president and the coach. And, he just ran the whole thing. And he was a famous English soccer and cricket player. But they got him over here. And here's what you got to realize. When they came here in 1976, English soccer, there was no Premier League. It was just the first division.
Okay.
Alan Merrick told me that he was approaching his 10th year with a team in Bournemouth or somebody over in England, and he was like a month away from his 10th anniversary, and the thing they did back then was they'd have a testimonial game for you on your 10th anniversary, and you got to keep the proceeds.
Wow.
So they cut him. They didn't want to give him the
bastards.
They didn't want to give him the money, so he ended up coming over here. But the best Freddie stories, my friend Dave Ferroni, who was the PR guy for the 1980 U.S. Olympic team, been in NASCAR for years. He's the PR guy for Truex last year when they won the championship.
Oh, really? Oh.
But he's a character. He had Herbie. And he had the Fighting Saints. He was a PR that guy there when the paychecks used to come, and they'd all run to the bank to see who. It was like they'd all sit there and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And all of a sudden, they'd all be walking, and then they'd burst in. And they'd start running because there'd only be about 5 checks and clear the bank.
Oh, that's great.
So he's had all these crazy things, but he ends up with Freddie.
Funny.
And Freddie, they keep losing the shootout, which is kind of a new thing, but they were kind of like the Wild when they first started. They couldn't win a shootout, right? So this is in the middle of the energy crisis, and Freddie promises a full tank of gas if they win the shootout.
Okay.
But
for everybody?
Not for everybody.
Oh.
Just the shooters.
Oh, okay.
And then, but Tino was the goalie, right? He didn't give Tino a tank of gas because Tino was driving a Chrysler New Yorker. So he said, only the shooters, not the goalie. Even though the goalie has to stop shots for you to win it, he wouldn't give Tino a tank of gas because he's a Chrysler New Yorker. And
my word.
The other thing that one of the guys told me is he tried to get them to wear these. They were going to come over, and this was the mod era of America, the mod goofy dressing. Yeah. Freddie got some deal on like these team color leisure suits that he wanted them all. And Alan Merrick told me the front pocket was big enough to put a soccer shoe in. Yeah. He said, and all these big lapels, and Freddie had all these suits, and they said, "We aren't wearing those suits, Freddie. We aren't wearing those damn suits."
I spent $50 on all these suits. Come on.
But you got to be older than you guys to have partied out there.
No, I was here, and I went to. I never saw a match once, but boy, did I see the parking lot.
Man, it was 76, so it had to be like you had to be how old? You couldn't have been too old.
No, when did they shut down?
81.
Yeah, I was
81.
Yeah, I had.
You got out there at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, it was, and by then I think they might have been charging for parking because they didn't charge for parking at first.
And they played at Met Stadium.
Yeah,
right?
That was the only way to make money.
They started the first game they ever played. I got this in my column. They played North Dakota State in an exhibition because they didn't know who to play, and they all landed here like April 7th from England, and they had a first game like 2 weeks later, and they didn't know each other, and so they flew up to North Dakota State to play in Fargo, and it's snowing and sleeting and raining, and Ace Nestelenko, the great player from South Africa who died at age 50 for no reason, it's just one of the great, but he was probably their best player. And Merrick and he were roommates the night before, and Merrick gets up in the morning, and Ace is just staring out the window. And he says, "What's going on, Ace?" He says, "Hey, Alan, you have to go tell Freddie I can't play in this." He's from South Africa. "I can't play. You have to go tell Fred I can't play." So Merrick went and made a deal with Goodwin that if Ace scored 2 goals, as soon as Ace scored 2 goals, he could stop playing. He scored 2 goals in the first 6 minutes and just walked up the field.
Well, actually proving himself wrong that he can, in fact, play in this stuff. But that has all the makings of a movie script.
Oh,
I mean,
the
that's
whole thing was
a huge cluster.
Well, they were they were all the grocery guys that bought the team. Jack Crocker from Super Value, Don Byerly.
Yeah.
Don Byerly picked up Merrick and his family at the airport. They didn't know each other. He's holding up a sign, and the Uber drivers were the owners.
Yeah.
And they had they were they come to town. The first game they ever played, May 9th, 1976. They have free parking, and then there's big ticket lines. They got more people than they expect. So you remember this, Kenny? They let them in for free. They had like 2,000 people in a line, and they let them in for free.
I didn't know.
Because the match was starting.
Okay.
Once those people got in, they wanted to get back out, but they let them in. And, of course, Calvin is the Twins owner, and he's got the reputation of being the most frugal guy ever. So it just became the greatest piece. These guys let us in for free, Calvin, And although everybody thought the Twins were upset about it, well, they owned the concession, so
So is that how
they were very happy.
Is that why Calvin let them? I mean, I'm having a hard time picturing.
No, well, he didn't run the stadium.
Oh.
He didn't run the stadium.
Oh.
So they could rent it to him.
Okay.
Of course, the famous story is the Airstream. The Airstream has all these 75-year-olds, and they have a convention every year where they get 1,500, 2,000 Airstream show up, and the old people, go someplace for a week or something. And they were trying to get it at Met Stadium for the next year, and the committee shows up, and they park their Airstreams out in the parking lot, and they're going to take them to a Kicks game, and they take them to a Kicks game, and when they come out, those Airstreams were being used for as support for various activities.
See, right there, that's in a movie.
They didn't get the convention. They didn't get the convention.
If this Airstream is a rockin'.
On top of it, up against it. And might have been a few break-ins, too. I don't know.
Oh, that's great.
Fantastic.
It was,
scandalous.
And the funny thing is, they got families out there, too. They've got the kids out there, and the parents just put their hands over their eyes or something like that. But they were, they were fun, but we knew who they were. They didn't change the roster, and soccer wasn't as sophisticated as it is now. So anyway, I had fun talking to those two guys. We shall be back. Sadly, in the last several years in the newspaper business, I've had to read the final column of many of my acquaintances that have either retired or been retired by newspapers as they cut down on the number of employees. And Bud Shaw, friend of mine from the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and younger than me, by the way, has I just saw his last column that he's written for the Cleveland Plain Dealer.
Have we had him on the ride before?
We had Bill Livingston on.
Okay.
I'm not sure we ever got Bud, but Livingston's a pal of mine. I think he's retiring at the end of the year, too. But I'm thinking every one of these columns, while they're variously good readers, they're all kind of tributes to the city and the job, and they're tributes to everybody.
Right.
And I have this irresistible urge when it comes time for me to write mine.
I know what you're going to do, man.
To just go out and hack everybody.
Yeah, Tom Powers style.
But
Absolutely.
nobody,
Absolutely.
But nobody would get the satire, would they?
No,
that would be the problem.
No, of course.
They would not get the idea that you're having fun with them.
He's a bitter old man.
Yes,
He deserves to die and go to hell.
I suppose part of the fun would be nobody would get it.
Well,
that would be part of the fun, right?
Not that he needs to channel any other cantankerous sports writer. But feeling extra salty, we now present Reusse's Tom Powers moment.
My hero. Oh, my God, I love Tom Powers.
The trouble is his final
real.
moment was on Twitter at 2 in the morning. He never got a chance.
On everybody.
He never got a chance to write that last column, which would have been a classic. But I guess when push come to shove, I probably won't have the guts. And you know why? Not because of anything except my wife would get so mad at me if she started hearing that from people.
Yeah, of course she would.
It might not be worth taking because she doesn't get anything. I was trying to tell her about Heinrich. She says, that's stupid. I said, of course it is.
That's the whole point.
She just does not, she doesn't understand that. So I don't know, but it'll be tempting. It'll be tempting to write.
What would you start with?
Oh, half of it would be making fun of Twin Cities being left with PJ, I'm sure. It'd be, you're welcome to this moron or something like that.
But it would have to be timeless, so you could go back in 10 years and reread it, and it would still be.
Oh yes,
it would still be timely.
And yes, it would.
I mean, but when you made last year's turkey about you, people didn't get that.
That it was me.
Yeah, people.
Yeah, and.
I'm still baffled that
some people did, though. Some people said you gave it to yourself, but you actually gave it to Sid.
Well, you did read it then. Thank you.
I am to this day still baffled about when Bo Ryan was stepping down from Wisconsin, when you tweeted out that hearing rumors that Richard Pitino and people actually thought you were serious,
including the Wisconsin people.
Gosh, that cracked me up.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's Twitter is not a good word, but that would be kind of fun. But Bud wrote a pretty good piece. Bud has a pretty good thing about it. When he went there, he'd been married for 10 days. He just married this gal, and he got the National. Remember that the Frank DeFord sports newspaper that went under and left all these guys hanging, and DeFord ended up writing a book about it. But Bud was there, so he needed a job. So he goes to work at the Plain Dealer.
What year? What year was that?
Oh, 90.
Okay.
So Bud tells his wife what a great sports town Cleveland is, and you'll enjoy it. And he said, of course, the option was unemployment. But so the first game, he takes her to this ball game in the afternoon when the Indians are still terrible. 1991, first game of a doubleheader, they get beat 11-0. And during the game, and his wife turns to him and says, if this is such a great sports town, why can I hear the catcher talking to the pitcher? which is a pretty good line, to say the least. All righty. We shall return and see what we have on the show. I'm curious to find out myself. Manny Hill, Reusse, Kenny, that's it. The boys were out in my old stomping grounds today, Prior Lake, to celebrate the garage opener and the 25th anniversary season of a Garage Logic, and it had to be a beautiful day out there on Prior Lake at Charlie's. And again, I think that's the old Green Heights out there, which is right on top of the water, and it's a fantastic location. And they've expanded it quite a bit since the day, since I was out there 50 years ago. But
it certainly looked like a gorgeous day out there, though.
And Prior Lake is... I left Fulda, Minnesota. It was a sad time, but I landed on my feet coming to Prior Lake, which, by the way, at the time had about 600 people. It's gotten a little larger.
It's grown quite a bit.
Got a little larger, although in the summer there were a lot of people that came out and lived in the cabins. The mom and the two girls would come out and live in the cabin, and the old man would go to work, and that was good.
When did you move to Prior Lake?
Summer of 62, like in June of 62, and graduated from high school there.
Okay.
I was a junior. I came for my senior year in high school. Fortunately, I got to meet some of the fellas that summer. Then in Prior Lake, I got to know some guys I was going to be in school with, and became good buddies with them. And they introduced me to beer, and that was nice. So, yeah, we had a good old time. Prior Lake was a great town, and it still is, although it's rather large compared to what it was. So anyway, today we will have a fantastic musical guest, but we're not going to reveal him. It's in honor of a current documentary that's running on HBO. I'll say that. And Randy Sampson, Canterbury opens tonight at 6:30, and of course open for the Kentucky Derby tomorrow. Randy Sampson. I think this is year 24 since the Sampsons and their group bought Canterbury and took over what was basically a dead operation out there, and they've had a lot of success. We'll talk to Randy. And the Vikings had their come on out and talk to us for the media today at their informal workouts or whatever's going on. And Collar was out there, so we'll ask Collar what was going on.
And for Spielman, was it come on out so I can give you absolutely nothing?
I don't even think he showed up today. I think this was talking to coaches and maybe getting a little access to players. And I'm not sure how it works, but all I know is if the Vikings say in the early May that we have access to players, whoosh, here they come. Everybody, we all show up. And that's good because this is at least you got different stories at this time of year. You got new guys to talk to. You got new bodies. So
and apparently they started, I heard the boys talking about this on GL earlier. I think it was part of Johnny's news that apparently they're going to start turning the lights off.
They announced that today, 11 p.m.
Yeah, so people in the surrounding communities were complaining.
Apparently, if you had a house... If you had a house across the highway, it was like noon. Yeah. It was rather. So they, I guess they decided, and they're trying to act like they're these benevolent guys for doing it. Trying to act like, we didn't have. And by the way, they turn them back on at 6 a.m.
Right?
Why?
Yeah.
You don't have to do it in the summer.
Right. The sun's coming up at 6 o'clock.
The sun's up. So anyway. All right, we shall return. I said Randy Sampson and Collar will be with us, and we will have a fantastic musical guest, and we'll take some time to make fun of the Twins. So
good old Friday Fun Fest coming up.
The Friday Fun Fest.
Good news. You started a company. Now you have to run it. When you look out into the sea of CRMs, it can look extremely blue. But HubSpot is here to give your company a more human approach. We're a CRM that's easy to use, aligns all your teams seamlessly, and delivers a better experience for your customers. So your business feels like a helpful partner and not just some company trying to force a sale. There's a better way to help grow your business by connecting your people, your customers, and your business. HubSpot. Grow better.